It's 5 p.m. Your report is due tomorrow. You haven't started. Your brain knows you should open your laptop and begin, but instead, you're scrolling on your phone. Sound familiar? What if I told you that in the next 15 minutes, I could transform your relationship with procrastination forever? Not through superhuman willpower or unrealistic productivity hacks, but through understanding the actual neuroscience of why you procrastinate, and how to leverage that knowledge to break free from this cycle that's costing you success, peace of mind, and probably a good night's sleep tonight. Procrastination isn't about laziness. It's not about poor time management. It's about how your brain responds to stress and threat. And once you understand that, you can use it to your advantage. Stay with me, because in these next few minutes, I'm going to show you why you've been fighting this battle with the wrong weapons, and exactly what to do instead. The procrastination cycle. What's really happening in your brain? Let's get something straight right away. You're not a procrastinator. You have a habit of procrastinating. This distinction matters because habits can be broken once you understand them. When you sit down to work on a challenging task, let's say that report due tomorrow, your brain's amygdala, which processes emotional threats, goes into high alert. It responds to that report the same way it would respond to physical danger. Your brain literally triggers a fear response, releasing hormones including adrenaline. This stress-induced panic can overpower your prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for long-term thinking and emotional regulation. In that moment, your brain makes a decision. Avoid the threat by finding something, anything, less stressful to do. And boom, you're checking email, scrolling social media, or deciding your apartment desperately needs cleaning right now. Next time you feel the urge to procrastinate, pause and say to yourself, "This is my amygdala responding to a perceived threat. The threat isn't real." Just naming what's happening can reduce its power over you. The dopamine trap, why we stay stuck. But there's more to this story. Dr. Andrew Huberman explains that procrastination is also tightly linked to dopamine, your brain's pleasure and motivation chemical. Here's what happens. When you're in an unmotivated state, your dopamine is in a trough. Your brain craves activities that will give it a quick dopamine hit. Scrolling social media? Quick dopamine. Watching a YouTube video? Instant dopamine. Working on that challenging report? Dopamine is delayed until completion. The irony is that by choosing the quick dopamine hit, you're actually deepening the dopamine trough, making it even harder to get motivated for important work. Identify your top 3 procrastination activities, the things you habitually turn to when avoiding work. Write them down. Awareness is the first step to changing this pattern. Why traditional advice fails you. Just power through it. Make a to-do list. Try the Pomodoro technique. Sound familiar? Traditional productivity advice often fails because it doesn't address the emotional and neurological roots of procrastination. It's like trying to fix a leaking pipe by mopping the floor. You're addressing the symptom, not the cause. Studies of university students who procrastinate found they were much more likely to put off tasks they perceived as stressful or difficult, and the longer they put off these tasks, the more stressful and difficult the tasks seemed in their minds. Most productivity systems focus on managing your time better, but procrastination isn't a time management problem, it's an emotion management problem. Instead of asking, "How can I manage my time better?" ask, "What emotion am I trying to avoid by not doing this task?" Fear of failure? Boredom? Overwhelm? Name the emotion specifically. Strategy number 1, the counterintuitive cold shower approach. Here's where things get interesting and counterintuitive. Remember that dopamine trough I mentioned? The depth of the trough after a dopamine peak is proportional to how high that peak was. But most importantly, the rate at which you get out of that trough is proportional to how steep that trough is. In simpler terms, when you're in an unmotivated state, doing something even harder than the task you're avoiding can actually rebound you out of that dopamine trough faster. This is where the cold shower technique comes in. When you're procrastinating, intentionally putting yourself in a brief state of discomfort, like a 30-second cold shower, can rapidly pull you out of that dopamine trough. The shower is physically uncomfortable but not harmful, and it causes a rapid dopamine rebound that lasts for hours. I tried this myself when working on a challenging project. After 3 days of procrastination, I forced myself into a 30-second cold shower. The shock to my system was exactly what I needed. Afterwards, starting the work actually felt easier than continuing to avoid it. Next time you're stuck in a procrastination loop, try a 30-second cold shower or splash very cold water on your face. Notice how your mental state changes immediately afterward. Strategy number 2, the 5-minute rule that actually works. You've probably heard of the 5-minute rule before. The basic idea is to commit to just 5 minutes of the task you're avoiding. But there's a neurological reason why this works. and a specific way to implement it that maximizes its effectiveness. The 5-minute rule works because it addresses the limbic friction between your emotional brain and your rational brain. Your limbic system goes into immediate fight or flight when faced with a 5-hour project, but 5 minutes, your limbic system hardly stirs. Here's the key. Don't just try to work for 5 minutes. Instead, deliberately choose the absolute easiest entry point into your task. For example, if you need to write a report, don't start by trying to write the introduction. Instead, just open the document and write a bullet point list of ideas. Or if you need to clean your apartment, don't think about the whole place. Just commit to cleaning one small surface. Once you get started, endorphins kick in, mental muscles warm up, and dopamine starts to surge. You quickly realize what you were afraid of starting isn't so scary after all. Choose one task you've been avoiding. What's the absolute smallest first step you could take? Set a timer for just 5 minutes and commit to only that tiny first step. Strategy number 3, temptation bundling, making the boring exciting. Temptation bundling is a powerful technique that pairs something you need to do with something you want to do. The problem is that we procrastinate on tasks that are boring or stressful because our brain craves immediate pleasure instead. The solution? Link the boring task to something enjoyable. Listen to your favorite podcast while doing your taxes. Allow yourself to drink your favorite coffee only when working on that report. Watch your guilty pleasure TV show only while folding laundry. This works because it tricks your dopamine system. Instead of your brain seeing the task as purely negative, it begins to associate it with the reward. I used this technique when I needed to organize years of digital files, possibly the most boring task imaginable. I created a special playlist of my favorite music that I would only allow myself to listen to while organizing files. Soon, I actually looked forward to the task because it meant I got to enjoy my special playlist. Pick one task you've been procrastinating on. What could you bundle with it to make it more enjoyable? Create a concrete if-then plan. If I work on that dreaded task, then I get to enjoyable activity at the same time. Strategy number 4, backcasting, visualizing the end result. One reason we procrastinate is that we perceive our future selves as strangers. Research from Dr. Hal Hershfield shows that on a neural level, we think about our future selves more like we think about other people than as part of ourselves. Backcasting is a powerful technique to overcome this disconnect. Instead of just thinking about the task itself, vividly visualize the end result and how you'll feel when it's completed. Then work backward to determine the steps needed to get there. For example, don't just think I need to finish this report. Instead, visualize yourself submitting the completed report, the relief and satisfaction you'll feel, and perhaps the positive feedback you might receive. Then think about what needs to happen for that vision to become reality. This technique helps bridge the gap between your present and future self, making the benefits of completing the task feel more real and immediate. Close your eyes for 60 seconds and vividly imagine how you'll feel after completing a task you've been procrastinating on. Include as many sensory details as possible. Then write down the first 3 steps you need to take to make that vision a reality. Strategy number 5, break the perfectionism-procrastination connection. Many people procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because they care too much. They have such high standards that they're terrified their work won't meet those standards. This perfectionism-procrastination connection is especially common among high achievers. The truth is, perfectionism keeps you stuck in a vicious cycle. You delay starting because you're afraid the result won't be perfect, which leaves you with less time to actually do good work, which increases the likelihood that the result won't meet your standards. The solution? Focus on progress, not perfection. Adopt what psychologists call a growth mindset, the belief that your abilities can be developed through dedication and hard work. For your next project, deliberately aim for good enough for the first draft or attempt. Tell yourself, I can always improve this later, but I can't improve something that doesn't exist. Strategy number 6, self-compassion as a productivity tool. Being harsh with yourself about procrastination actually makes the problem worse, not better. When you beat yourself up, you add more negative emotions to an already emotionally charged situation, making the perceived threat even more intimidating. Research shows that self-compassion, treating yourself with the same kindness you would show a good friend, is more effective for overcoming procrastination than self-criticism. Next time you catch yourself procrastinating, try this 3-step self-compassion break. 1. Acknowledge your suffering. This is a moment of stress, or I'm having a hard time right now. 2. Remember our shared humanity. Everyone struggles with procrastination sometimes. 3. Offer yourself kindness. May I be kind to myself at this moment? What do I need right now to take a small step forward? The next time you catch yourself procrastinating, try the 3-step self-compassion break. Notice how it shifts your emotional state. Strategy number 7. Environmental design, remove friction. Your environment has a profound impact on your tendency to procrastinate. Digital distractions in particular make it incredibly easy to avoid difficult work. The solution isn't just willpower, it's environmental design. Make procrastination harder and starting easier. For digital work, use apps like Freedom or Cold Turkey to temporarily block distracting websites. Put your phone in another room while working. For physical tasks, prepare your environment in advance. Set out the cleaning supplies before you go to bed if you plan to clean tomorrow. I struggled with morning workout procrastination until I started sleeping in my workout clothes and placing my shoes right next to my bed. This tiny environmental change reduced the friction to starting by about 80%. Identify the top 3 distractions that facilitate your procrastination. How could you make these less accessible? Create one specific environmental change to implement today. Strategy number 8, the worse than technique. When you're in an unmotivated state, doing something that seems harder than the task you're avoiding can actually help break the cycle of procrastination. Dr. Huberman explains that to get out of a dopamine trough quickly, you need to put yourself into a state that's temporarily more uncomfortable than your current state of procrastination. Besides cold showers, other options include a brief intense exercise, holding a wall sit until your legs shake, or doing something socially uncomfortable like making that phone call you've been dreading. This technique works because it gives you perspective. After doing something genuinely difficult or uncomfortable, your original task often seems less threatening by comparison. Create a list of 3 to 5 brief, worse-than activities that you could use to shake yourself out of procrastination. These should be challenging but beneficial activities that take less than 2 minutes. Putting it all together, your anti-procrastination protocol. Let's bring all these strategies together into one cohesive protocol you can use anytime you find yourself procrastinating. 1. Recognize and name the procrastination when it's happening. 2. Identify the specific emotion you're trying to avoid. 3. Use a worse-than technique, cold shower, brief intense exercise to shock your system out of the dopamine trough. 4. Apply the 5-minute rule, focusing on the smallest possible entry point. 5. Bundle the task with something enjoyable if possible. 6. Visualize the relief and benefits of completion. 7. Practice self-compassion throughout the process. 8. Modify your environment to reduce distractions. Remember that overcoming procrastination isn't about being perfectly productive all the time. It's about understanding the underlying mechanisms of procrastination and having specific strategies to address them when they arise. Choose one task you've been procrastinating on right now. Apply the full protocol above, starting with naming the procrastination and ending with taking at least 5 minutes of action on the task. The last 1%, making these changes stick. Knowledge without action is just entertainment. So how do you make these anti-procrastination strategies stick for the long term? The key is to track your progress. Our brains respond powerfully to feedback and measurable improvement. Create a simple tracking system, perhaps a note in your phone or a small notebook where you record 1. When you caught yourself procrastinating. 2. Which strategy you used to overcome it. 3. What the outcome was. This tracking serves 2 purposes. It provides accountability and it gives you data about which strategies work best for your specific procrastination patterns. Additionally, celebrate your wins, even small ones. Each time you successfully overcome procrastination, you're literally rewiring your brain's response patterns. Take a moment to acknowledge your progress. Create your procrastination tracking system right now. Make your first entry about how you'll apply what you've learned from this video. We've covered a lot in these 15 minutes. You now understand that procrastination isn't a character flaw. It's a neurological and emotional response pattern that can be reprogrammed. You have specific science-backed strategies to overcome procrastination in the moment and to gradually rewire your brain for more consistent motivation. Will you never procrastinate again? That might be too absolute a promise. But you now have the tools to catch procrastination quickly when it happens, understand why it's happening, and effectively counter it with specific techniques matched to your situation. Remember, the goal isn't perfect productivity. It's freedom from the stress, shame, and self-criticism that typically accompanies procrastination. It's about being in control of your choices rather than feeling controlled by mysterious forces of avoidance. Your relationship with procrastination can change starting today. In fact, it already has. because you now understand what's really happening in your brain when you procrastinate. You've seen behind the curtain and you can't unsee it. So the next time you find yourself about to check social media instead of starting that important task, you'll recognize what's happening. You'll know it's just your amygdala trying to protect you from a perceived threat. You'll have specific strategies to counter it. And most importantly, you'll know that you're not lazy or broken. You're just human, with a human brain that can be redirected toward what matters most to you. The 15 minutes are up. What will you do with this knowledge? Let me know in the comments. The choice is yours, but I hope you'll choose action. Your future self is counting on it. Subscribe for more productivity tips.